Hello and welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. I'm your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. And today we have an interview with a friend, a colleague, a mentor, someone you've heard about before if you've been following the podcast and the YouTube channel for the past year. His name is Spencer Burnett. And I got Spencer on the podcast today to talk about something I really actually haven't talked about in quite a while. And we're talking about first dates. And basically, this is how this happened. We talk every week, we're buddies, and he was telling me, yo, Trip, I got this great little system. I got this little system for first dates, and it's awesome. And right before he told me, I was like, dude, just come on the podcast and don't just tell me, share this with the followers and the guys like you who are listening right now so we can all learn from this. And of course, Spencer said yes. So I got him here right now, and we're going over what is it called? The 5-step, I don't want to ruin it. What was it?
Oh, it's 5 steps to the perfect first date.
5 steps to the perfect first date. Now, if you don't know who Spencer is, he is a life coach from the Invincible Academy. He specializes in sex, relationships, and spirituality, and he's one of Chicago's top sex and dating coaches. So this guy knows his stuff. I've been out with him. He's really incredible, and he teaches me stuff all the time, which is great. I love learning from him, and I want you to learn from him right now. So Spencer, dude, thanks for being here and doing this.
No problem, dude. I'm excited. I love sharing things with all of your followers. Everything from the fashion stuff to the sex tips to the dating stuff,
to Snapchat.
Oh yeah, to Snapchat. That was a really, really good one. And so as soon as I've been kind of dating a little bit more lately, and I noticed a few of my dates going exactly the same way. And when we meet every week, I was like, oh man, I got to tell Trip about this. So yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation.
I love it. Well, I'm happy that you're here, and you are a wealth of knowledge, and I'm just excited to talk about some of this stuff. And again, I haven't really been talking about first dates for a while, and it's definitely something that comes up a lot. It's something that I talk about in my program, Hooked. I have a whole module dedicated to first dates that lead to sex. So I'm curious to hear what some of your thoughts and tips are and see if they align with mine, and just give some good information, because if you who's listening right now has been listening to this advice and actually taking it, hopefully you're at the point where you've been getting a ton of first dates. And these days it's really easier than you think, because there's so many crazy avenues to meet women that it should be easy if you know what you're doing. So Spencer, bro, take it away.
Well, first of all, your program Hooked, dude. I know I told you this before, and if you guys don't know, before I became friends with Trip, I actually was a fan for years. I've been a fan of Trip and Trip Advice, and he actually is the one that inspired me to continue being a dating coach. And Trip, you were the guy who really showed me that you didn't have to be a douchebag in order to be good with women. You could be your genuine self. And since then, I've followed all of your stuff. I've watched your entire program, Hooked, more than once. And it's one of the best programs. It's the best program that I've seen in a long time. So any parts that I'm not talking about here, guys, as in like how to pick up a girl, we're talking about first dates here. So like the parts of, picking her up or managing the relationship, like get Hooked. I'm telling you, it is worth 15 or 20 times what you pay for it. It's amazing.
Oh, dude, thank you. I did not pay him to say that. I promise. Oh, he's saying that from the goodness of his heart, and Spencer, I appreciate that. Thank you. Really.
Yeah, I'm saying that as a fan, a friend, and a dating professional. And from all three of those perspectives, it's beautiful. It's a great program.
Well, I might as well just tell them the URL. Okay, you can go to getherhooked.com if you're interested in seeing if Spencer is correct on how amazing the program truly is. So getherhooked.com. But let's get into some content. Awesome, dude. Thank you. I appreciate that. So,
no problem.
All right, so we're talking about first dates. Where are we beginning here? Are we talking about, does this all start when we're on the first date? Or are you talking about the way to get to the first date? Like, where does it all begin in your little 5-step process?
This begins once you've already gotten the number and she knows that you're interested in her. Okay, so all after the initial pickup and flirting and stuff like that, and when you get a girl's number, you should let her know that you have the intention of seeing her again. I was actually out. Actually, Max or Trip. This is when I was out with you. I was actually out, and this is when I was out with you, Trip. And I talked to that girl. I gave her a look from across the room, and we were smiling at each other. And I was just very direct. I'm like, I think you're beautiful. I noticed you from before. Like, it's hard to look you in the eyes because you're so hot. Let me take you out. Let me take you out and get to know you. And so, and then she was like, that sounds great. And she gave me her number. Now, what I did there is actually the first part of this perfect first date, which is suggesting a date. Asking for a date seems a little bit needy. It seems like it's one step away from begging. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. I don't like to ask girls. I like to tell them, like, we're going on a date. We're hanging out. We're doing this. I'm just telling them and going from there. If they're not interested, well, they're not interested. But no girl's ever going to be offended if you're just saying what's up, because it's very confident that way.
Right. And that's what they're looking for. And I mean, when I speak with women, that is the number one thing that they say. Like, if you're too soft as a man, you're automatically disqualified. And so step one is suggest a date. Hey, I had a great time meeting you the other day. We should get together this week. Now, as you're suggesting the date, again, don't ask her when she's free. So a lot of guys will say, so what works best for you? Because they're trying to be accommodating. They're trying to be sweet and considerate. Just like you talk about in Hooked, all of the flavor profiles, like being considerate is an important element to being a man who's, who attracts women. But it's all about timing, like when you're being considerate. Off the bat here, you want to be confident, you want to be firm, you want to be bold, and say, hey, we should go out. I'm free on Wednesday and Friday. What works best for you? You see what I'm saying? So yeah. You could say what works best for you, but make sure to say, or if you want to be even more bold, you could say, I have either Wednesday or Saturday open, and just leave it at that and see how she responds.
Yeah, I like that.
Women don't want to be controlled, but they certainly want to be led. And there's a fine line between the two, but you have to make sure that you are leading her to show her that you have that masculine quality.
Wait, hold on. I need to repeat that. That is the quote of the month right now. That is really good. Women don't want to be controlled. They want to be led. That is huge. That's very important here, because a lot of this can seem like it's controlling because you're, in a sense, controlling the situation, right? That's what you're doing. You're in control. And I say that all the time. I'm always saying that word, in control, that phrase, in control. Like, you got to be in control of the situation, which I still believe you do. You need to be in control of the situation. But just because you're in control doesn't mean you're controlling her. Right. But what you're saying is exactly right. It's that you're in control, which allows you to lead the interaction, right? Lead the interaction. Yes. I like what you said there too. Those are good ways of asking her out. Here's another one, and just to throw it on top of what you said. All those were great. I like to say, what's your schedule like this week? Not even necessarily like, when are you free, but like, what's your schedule like this week? Right. And she'll be like, oh, I'm free this day and this day. Like, she'll say like when she's free. And then what you can do, and this is a good way to show that you're not, just super open and available for every date that she says. But if she says like, oh, I'm free, I'm pretty busy this week, but I'm free Wednesday and Friday. Well, then you can throw out, what, Friday wouldn't work for me because I got an event, but Wednesday would be great. So it's like you're just coordinating schedules. Like, oh, when are you free? Cool. This is when I'm free. But a good way to say is what's your schedule like this week? Because that's not saying to her that you're completely free. You're just getting and seeing what's up with her. Right. I do like the bar move though. There's like the high risk but high reward move of being like, I'm free Wednesday and Saturday.
Right, and there's levels to it. So it's a little bit softer to say what's your schedule like. It's a little bit more firm to, I'm going to a concert on Friday. You should come. What time should I pick you up? Yeah. Now that's bold, but somewhere in between there is the right move. And now, guys, you got to know what works for your personality And so if you feel a little bit more comfortable being a little softer about it, cool. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, more high risk, high reward, awesome. Play with it a little bit, but don't be too soft no matter what your personality is. It'll kill you right away. So it's much easier to apologize for being too bold than it is to get her to stop thinking that you're a pussy because you were too soft.
Ask for forgiveness, not for permission.
Absolutely. And that's got to be your mindset. And once again, that can go too far. Like, guys, don't be assholes to women, but it is easier to say you're sorry than it is to ask for permission to get back into her, into sexual consideration. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. So you want to make sure that you're, and again, right now we're not talking about sex. I want guys to understand this. Like, it's not when it comes to sex. That doesn't apply. The ask for forgiveness. No, that's not how that works. We're just talking about more verbally leading the interaction, getting her on a date, taking control of the situation, and just being bold and forward. And there's some girls who don't really like it when guys are that bold, but you're not going to ruin it. You know what I mean? If you're super bold, it's not like she's like, oh, forget this guy. It's like, oh no, you're just learning about her. You calibrate after the fact. One thing that I like to do when it comes to asking about the date is I like to balance it out a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll say something like, she'll be like, okay, I'm free. Oh, I'm free Wednesday. I'll be like, great, let's go. And I'll have the whole thing set up. Like, let's go here. Let's meet at this time. So I'm directing her what's happening. And then I'll add in afterwards, sound good? ? And that's just me. Again, I like to add in that just to be like, hey, I'm moving forward and this is what's going on. But let me get your commitment to it, by saying sound good. It just kind of eases it up a little bit. So I like to balance that so she knows I'm in control, but I'm not being this overriding, jerk in a sense.
Right.
Where I'm doing it too much. Again, these are all things you can play with. There's no right answer. You can play with all these and see what happens. But I think at the end of the day, what I'm gathering from you, Spencer, and what we're trying to say here is just go for it. You don't need to ask. You just come up with something, find the date, and move it forward. And just be in control.
Yes. Perfect.
Cool. Moving on. All right. We're only at step one. We have 4 more steps. Let's keep moving.
Okay. Step 2 is actually choosing what to do for the date. Okay. And I've got two good suggestions for this. One is a little bit more aggressive, and this is having a girl over to your house to make some pizzas and a salad. I got this one from my buddy Gino, and this is like his go-to. He lives in a great location, downtown, really centralized location, and making pizzas together is something that it's innocent. You've got put a little bit of flour on her nose, kind of kneading the dough. There's a lot of prep work with the salad and the toppings, and you can go to Whole Foods or your local grocery store and get pre-made dough, and it's a cheap date. It's really interactive. It's a way to have her in your home without it being really kind of like feeling invasive. Now, again, this is a little bit more aggressive, but if you already built a really good rapport with this girl, or you've seen her out a couple times, or you guys have been talking for a while, and you've done enough to not only build the attraction, but also to calibrate emotionally with her so she feels safe, this is a great go-to first date. So that's one like little suggestion. But here's the main way that I ask girls out on dates. It's about giving her 3 options. Okay, this goes back to women don't like to be controlled; they like to be led. Women are like wild animals, like a wild stallion. You can't train a wild horse by putting a leash onto it. That thing will drag you around all over the place, and you'll never get anywhere. But the key is to make that wild stallion feel like it's free when in fact it's contained or corralled. So instead of putting a leash on it, you build a fence 1 mile this way, 1 mile that way, 1 mile the other way, 1 mile the other way, a big square. And within those parameters, the horse is free, but you're still in control of the space. And so when you're giving a girl options for a date, this doesn't feel like she's being controlled or told what to do. She has options, but she's also being led. So here's an example. There is, so I'm in Chicago right now. I like going on dates in the West Loop. Okay, it's kind of like a kind of young professionals, hip neighborhood in Chicago, and so I say, hey, we should go out. We should go out this week. I'm free on Wednesday and Thursday. And she says, I said, what sounds good for you? Thursday sounds great. And then a lot of times she'll ask, well, what are we doing? And I'll say, well, that depends. Do you like sake and sushi, nachos and beer, or champagne and oysters? Now, those are three different restaurants that I like to go to with three completely different atmospheres, menus, and like styles of food. So this gives her options. She gets to choose out of a handful of things to do, but still you're leading the whole situation. Does this make sense?
Makes perfect sense. I love that also because what's good about those options is they're different vibes and they can call to different types of people. So you're offering almost like three different personality types in a sense. Right. So one of those will work, and they're all just great combinations. I like that.
So what can happen too is a lot of times I had one girl say, oh my gosh, all three of those sound amazing. And I was like, okay, so we're set up for 3 dates. Which one would you like first?
Oh, I love it. That's good.
And you know me, always future pacing girls into like putting the idea in their head that before we even go out the first time, we're going to go out a third time. You know what I mean? That type of future pacing is super effective when it comes to to dating and to talking to girls about dates. So, and actually, what I did with that one girl who said that is all of those restaurants are within walking distance of each other. So on our date, we went to all three of those. And so what happens when you do that? So we went to a sushi restaurant to start. Then we went in champagne and oysters. Then we went and got, split some nachos and some beer. Then we went to like an upscale lounge downtown. And then we went to this kind of deep house dance club. And what happens there is she feels like she was on 5 dates. And if you go on a date with a girl once or twice a week, it feels like you've been together for a month. And so if she's interested in more than one of them, you can keep jumping locations to continue to like build experiences together. Every scene builds more time spent in her head. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yep. Yeah. Keep going, man. Keep going.
So that's number 2, giving her 3 options for dinner. Now, if you don't live in Chicago with like fancy sushi places or oysters or whatever, it doesn't matter. You could say you want to go have some burgers and a beer. You want steak and wine, or do you want to do shared Mediterranean plates? Okay. It could be anything. Here's what you don't want to do, and then we'll get to the next tip. Don't say, do you want to go to a sushi restaurant? You don't give her the names of the restaurants. When you say, sake and sushi, nachos and beer, and champagne and oysters, you can almost kind of visualize it more so than if you were to say, well, I know this good sports. We can go to the sports bar. We can go to the sushi restaurant, or we can go to this Italian place. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, okay. So next you're on the date. This is the third step. And you have to start physically escalating. I know we talk about this all the time in the dating and pickup industry, is physical escalations. And so often we're looking to get laid or looking to get the kiss, but you've got to start with these micro escalations. And you can do it by being a gentleman while simultaneously becoming more physical with her. So when you open a door, when you go to get into the car, opening the door for her, putting the hand on the small of the back. If you guys are driving in the car, maybe holding hands, on the center console. If you're not holding hands in center console when you're walking to the restaurant, go arm in arm. And then when you're walking back to the car, start holding hands. Holding hands is one of the most underrated physical escalation moves that I know. So many women find it so sweet, and it is sweet, and it does seem kind of holding hands has more of a feminine energy to it. But when you offer kind of more of a feminine energy to a woman, what that does is that gives you permission to have more assertive masculine energy to balance out that flavor profile, as you put it in your course, Hooked. In my courses, I call it pinging to the other side, okay, or polarization. So holding hands with a girl is a precursor to kissing. When you're holding her hand, it's easy to pull her in. When you're holding her hand, it's like you have so many nerves in your hands. That's why holding hands feels so intimate. It's the same thing with kissing. Kissing is super intimate too because of all the nerve endings on the lips, but also the pheromones. Like you're putting your nostrils together so as close as you can. So not only are you feeling those nerves, but you're being stimulated, by taste and sense. So holding hands, is a precursor to the kiss. So that's the third step, is like these little minor escalations.
So that happens after the date?
This happens as soon as you can. So this happens at the beginning of the date. So if you have a girl, for instance, I had a girl meet me at my house, okay? We had a glass of wine, and then it was time for us to leave. We hopped into an Uber. As we're walking down the stairs, because I live in a flat, as we're walking down the stairs, I simply just go ahead of her, hold my hand up because she's in heels, and making sure that she's not falling. So I'm touching her. It's not being sexual, but it is physical, and it is like I'm your man type of gesture. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're not. I mean, like when you're walking down the stairs, you're not holding my hand. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a romantic.
But Lord knows I want to.
You totally would.
No, I like this. This is good. Here's what I think about this. It's tough. I go back and forth about physical escalation because I've had moments where I've been physically escalated at all and was still able to move forward and get physical with a girl, like jumping from nothing to a kiss. And then going from there. So I like this advice in terms of, use this as something that you would want to do. You know what I mean? Like, don't just go to hold her hand because we're telling you it's a micro escalation step. Right. Do it because you're feeling it, like you want to hold her hand. Because I don't think it's necessary, but I think it does help. That's all I'm saying. I think it's a good tip. Like, it does help. It will make her feel good. It will turn her on a little bit. It's like it's like a bonus move, if it's something you feel encouraged or have an impulse to do, then fine. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and it's good too. It's good too because it's micro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, shit. I've had dates where I've met women where I didn't have to ask her on a date, give her any options, hold her hand, or even kiss her. And then when we slept together was the first time that we kissed. So you can skip steps. But in terms of these 5 steps that we're talking here, these steps are like kind of like the smoothest escalation up. You see what I'm saying? So it can be skipped if things are good. But like you said, not just in the hand holding, but in the kissing or sleeping with a girl too. Don't just do it because that was the point or because we told you to. You always want to do things from the heart and from the gut of, I'm doing this is because this is what I desire. Because women are going to be able to tell the difference between the two. If you're doing it because it's a calculated move, or you're doing it because, although you may know it's effective, you genuinely feel like connecting, Right,
exactly. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap so we know where we're at. We had first, step 1, how to ask her out. Step 2, how to pick the place of where you guys are going. Step 3, hold her hand in the moment that feels right or as soon as you can. And now we're on step 4.
Step 4 is the kiss, the first kiss. And the biggest mistake that guys make when it comes to the first kiss is doing it at the end of the night. It's so awkward. It's like, you drop her off and it's like, okay, well, I had a good time. Yeah, I had a good time too. And so you kind of know it's coming. So even if there is a good spark between the two of you, it's still a little awkward. So what I like to do is do a mid-date kiss. So kiss in the middle of the date. And the main way that I do this is during the date, we're sitting at dinner, sitting at the bar, sitting wherever we're at, or walking at the zoo, it doesn't matter. Excuse yourself to leave for some reason. Usually it's to go to the bathroom, maybe go to the bar, get another drink. Maybe it's to go get a couple ice cream cones. Whatever it is, it's a reason to leave her. And so you say, so what you do is you're talking, you lean in and you kiss her and immediately say, I'll be right back. So after you kiss her, you leave immediately. Now what this does is a couple things. If the kiss was successful, her mind's spinning now. She's probably texting her girlfriend, oh my God, he just kissed me. And she's, it gives her time to kind of collect her thoughts because it's a big deal for girls. They're not making the first move, which means that they're waiting for you to make the first move. So it's just as big of a deal for them, even though they're not the ones being the aggressors. So for the most part. So another thing may happen is you may go to kiss her and she may turn her face and give you the cheek. Now, typically when I go in for this mid-date kiss, I go for the corner of the lips. So like the side of the lips. So if she turns her face, it might seem that I was heading there anyways. So I kind of go in between the face, the lip kiss and the cheek kiss to see which way she turns. If she just stands still, then I'm going for the lips. Okay. But if she turns the cheek, then she turns the cheek. And then it simply just looks like you were being a gentleman, giving her a nice kiss on the cheek before you leave to go to the bathroom or grab a drink or whatever. And if she completely rejects you, you're buying insurance. Because the worst part of being rejected for a kiss is not the rejection of the kiss. It's the 2 minutes afterwards where you're like, oh shit, I thought things were going well. And you know what I mean? So it gives you a moment to hit the reset button. But as you know this, Trip, like if you've kissed a girl once, then it's easy to kiss her throughout the rest of the date. Same thing with sleeping with a girl. If you slept with her once, it's a whole lot easier to sleep with her again. So that's why you want to get the first kiss out of the way in the middle of the date because it allows for more intimacy during the rest of the day because it's easy. That second, third, fourth, fifth kiss are simple after that.
And it breaks the tension.
Yeah.
It breaks the tension because there's always that tension there of, is there going to be a kiss? When is there going to be a kiss? All that good stuff. Right. So yeah, I like that. That's good to do that. And that's a really great technique too. It's perfect.
Yeah. You can also do it like when you're going to get the car, stay here. I'll go get the car, go in for the kiss. And then, then it goes the same way.
Love it. Okay, cool. So what next?
Okay. So next. All right. So we're on the date. We suggest the date. We went to the place that she likes, but you gave her the options. You're holding hands. You're arm around her, arm in arm when you walk, being a gentleman. You've kissed her. And now, things have heated up, and you want to take her home. Now, this is tricky, especially in the culture that we live in these days because, you can't be too aggressive because, that has its own set of problems. But you can't wait for her to make the move because women aren't going to do that. I mean, just no matter what. Again, there's exceptions to everything, but girls aren't going to make the move. So once again, at the end of the date, you make a suggestion. Or not a suggestion, pardon me. You ask a question. You want to get out of here? And just like that, do you want to get out of here? So you're at the bar, you're at the restaurant, wherever you're at. And you ask her, do you want to get out of here? It's an open-ended question. Most likely, she's going to say, where do you want to go? Now, it's really important that she asks you that question and you don't ask her that question. Because if you say to her, where do you want to go? It sounds like you're trying to sell her. When you ask the question, you're a salesman looking for the purchase. When she asks you the question, you're the consultant, the one who's already been paid, who has all the answers. So you want to make sure that she asks you that question, well, where do you want to go? And this is where most guys will state exactly what they want. Well, let's go back to my place. No. Because again, you don't want her to feel like she's being pressured. She wants to be led, but not pressured. So you say you give her 3 options. Because when you give her 2 options, it feels like an ultimatum. If you say, well, you can either go home or go home with me, that sounds like, well shit. Like, it seems a little harsh, right?
Yeah,
so here's what you say.
Aggressive.
Yeah, it is. But you can, but that's what you want to say, right? Like, let's just get to it. So what you say is, well, we can either go to the next bar, I can take you home, or we can go back to my place. Now, what this really means is we can decide if we're going to sleep together a little bit later tonight and grab another beer. I can take you home, which, by the way, like, she can choose to take that however she wants to take it. The way you mean it is that take her back to her house. But I can take you home sounds like that's the option where she goes home with you, right? And then you give her another option, or we can go back to my place. So it's kind of a play on words that works really, really well. I know it's a minor nuance, but it matters big time. And so now she has these 3 options. Are we going to choose to sleep together later? Are we going to sleep together after another date that we have, or are we going to do this now? And when she has those 3 options, she feels more confident choosing one of them, as opposed to making the suggestion, why don't we go back to my house, or I can drop you off, or you can come back with me.
I want to add something to this.
Okay.
I'm going to make this better. One small tweak. When you say your place, I wouldn't just say your place, because it just insinuates sex. It just oozing sex right there.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
and so if you say to her, basically you're saying, we go to another bar and keep hanging out. I'll drop you off so you can go home, or we have sex. Like, that seems like the options, right? So is that wrong? No, that's not wrong. But girls don't want to choose sex because they don't ever want to feel like a slut. So they want sex to just kind of happen, and that makes them feel better. We can go into that for hours. That's a whole other topic, but just trust me on this one, okay? And then, so for this, instead, I would say, okay, we have 3 options. And by the way, when you say it, yours should be second. If you say it last, it seems like you're scared and you're guilty. So it should be like, all right, 3 options. 1, let's go to another bar. I know a great place right down the street. 2, we go back to my place, and then you say something. Watch a movie, show her something. You got this great bottle of wine that you wanted to try, and you want to try it with her. Have another drink, whatever you can come up with. So it's giving her the option of coming back to your place for a reason. And then, of course, if sex happens, sex happens. So again, you say, hey, let's go to another bar. Option 2, come back to my place and XYZ, or I can take you home.
I think that's great. So that is definitely, the way that I was proposing it is definitely more of an assertive, matter of fact way to do it. The way that you're proposing it's you're what's called grounding you're grounding the decision, which means you're attaching the decision to go home to something other than sex. And that's super important for women to make a decision to go back to your place, because just like you said, they want sex to happen. Even if they know that it's going to happen, they want to be surprised. It's kind of like going to a movie. Like, you know how most movies are going to end, but you don't want someone to tell you. You know what I mean? That's kind of the attitude that they have about sex. Where I would disagree, and I guess like you guys can try this out, is I still think that offering to take her home first and then offering your place, that it sounds like I'm more open to that than
Oh yeah,
like
that's fine.
my place.
I'd say
Yeah,
whatever the order is
sure.
doesn't matter except for all I'm saying with this one is don't put going back to your place last.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, say it last.
Oh
That's fine.
you think that you should say back to your place as the last option.
Yes,
Oh,
because
interesting. Okay,
I
what's your
want
reason for
her to
that?
feel I want her to feel safe. I want her to know that there's an option for her to leave before there's an option for her to come to my house. Because it's super important for women to know that you have the option to leave whenever you want.
So then what if
Yeah.
it's option one? This is so funny. What if it's option one? Um, I'll take you home. Option two, back to my place. Option three, another bar.
No, I mean, we're splitting hairs here. You know what I
I
mean?
know, but
Like
it's
this is
fun.
right. It is. So, I mean, I guess for for your guys that your followers and stuff and listeners to your podcast, like, and try it out. Like, let's put it this way: there's no wrong
Yeah,
way to do it.
we're nitpicking here. I mean, we're
Right.
nitpicking. I mean,
Right.
I just as coaches, we're so into this that we like all
Right.
the insane details of how this all goes down. But at the end of the
Right.
day, like, yeah, it doesn't really matter the order. You could do whatever, and it's fine. It's not gonna make or break. So,
Right. The key is give her three options. That's the thing that you have to stick to. So when all said and done, give her three options. Even if the option is, hey, we can go to this bar, we can go to this restaurant, or we can go to my friend's house, or we can go to your house. You know what I mean? Three options is kind of the overarching kind of theme that shows that you're leading, but still giving them choices.
I love it. That's great. There you have it. That is a 5-step process to the perfect first date. And do we leave anything out?
No, I mean, not for the first date. I mean, of course, there's plenty to say that if that does go well, what do you do next? But we might have to save that for a whole nother podcast because
That's another
that's
podcast. There's so many weeks in the year. There's plenty
right.
more. This podcast isn't ending anytime soon. So maybe we'll have you back on and we can talk about some of the steps after that. Maybe we can have 3 different podcasts depending on each option.
Right.
Every option gets a podcast, and in this case, no particular order.
Right. Right. Of course.
I love it too. Well, listen, if the guys want to work with you, where can they find you, buddy?
Oh, at the invincibleacademy.com. Or you guys can, if you want to follow like me specifically, you can find me on Snapchat under Spencer Burnett. That's Burnett with 2 T's, Burnett. And other than that, yeah, those are the 2 main places.
I love it. Well, as you know, I highly endorse you. So, guys, if you want to work with him, check him out. Check out theinvincibleacademy.com. He's got great information, as you can see. If you've come this far in the podcast, then I'm sure you're already impressed by some of this great information. So go and use it because it's not going to be good for you unless you actually apply it. Don't just sit here and listen to podcasts all day. Let's get you results. Thanks, guys. And Spencer, thank you.
Thank you, man.